get a little bit personal here.
Yes, yes. Good job, Leah. You did it.
Say hi, YouTube!
And it goes a little something like
Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Leah Elizabeth and today I'm going to be sharing with you my birth story. Not my birth story, but my daughter's birth story. It's been like 3-4 months since I've made a video, so I'm so nervous. It feels so weird to be talking to a camera again, but here we are. We are in my daughter's nursery room right now. Stay tuned also for an upcoming video for the nursery tour. That will be on its way as well. I almost feel overwhelmed because there's so many videos that I want to do right now and I feel so backed up, but I'm gonna get through them. Okay, so basically my contractions started December 12th. And I actually kind of wanted the December 12th date for my daughter's birthday because it would have been 12/12/22 and I love the number 2. So anywho, her contractions began on the 12th of December and it was in the evening time and I wasn't really sure if it was a contraction or maybe I'm just thinking things or is this really happening, because I had a lot of pressure actually from my doctors to set up an appointment for an inducement because I was at 41 weeks and 3 days at this point on December 12th, so I was already feeling the pressure to come on, let's get this baby moving. So there was a lot of pressure from the doctors to get induced, but I held out and good thing I did because she did come naturally. So anywho, it was in the evening time. I was getting very mild contractions and it's funny because I went to go and play League of Legends with a bunch of my friends online and my friends were like, what the hell? What are you doing here? Like, go to the hospital. But I was just like, no, I'm fine, like this is great, like if I can get through contractions playing League of Legends, like that's amazing. It's like the perfect distraction. So I just kept playing. Around actually 8 p.m. I went downstairs to go see how Jimmy, my husband, was doing, and that is when my water broke. It felt very strange because I don't know, TMI. In general, this video is very TMI, so if you're uncomfortable, just kind of like exit out right now because things are gonna get a little bit personal here. When my water broke, it wasn't like something dramatic like how in the movies, like, oh my god, my water broke, oh my god, and like a gush of water. No, it was almost kind of like a discharge feeling where discharge comes out, but instead of discharge, it's water and it goes through your underwear and it's like, oh, okay. And it wasn't like there was too much of it, it was just a little bit of water and I just kind of sat on the toilet and it just kind of came out a little bit. I was like, oh, I'm not sure if that was pee or a little bit of water, but anywho, back to League of Legends. So I went to go play League of Legends again and my friends were like, what? Your water just broke? They're like, go to the hospital, what are you doing? But anyways, I was determined to have as much time as possible at home getting through the contractions on my own before I go to the hospital, because the hospital is such like a sterile, environment and I just wanted to be in the comfort of my home. I didn't want a home birth, but I wanted to have as much home contractions as possible before getting to the hospital. I went to bed around midnight and at this point they were starting to get a little bit stronger, but it was still manageable to fall asleep. So I went to sleep and I would kind of wake up every couple hours or so just because of the pain, and I would kind of like breathe through it and then I would go back to sleep and then like I would wake up again and then I would go back to sleep, and it was kind of like that for a while, especially 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. they were getting stronger. 6 a.m. I couldn't sleep anymore, like the contractions were too much. I think I texted my mom at that point and I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm having contractions and this baby's coming tonight or today. And she was like, oh my god, like, come by the house on your way to the hospital, because their house is like literally like on the way to the hospital and right by the hospital. So I was like, yeah, I think that'll be fine, like, like I'll stop by, it'll be great. Just like really undermining like the contractions. It was around like noonish where the contractions started getting pretty strong and I was like, okay, well, you know what, like maybe we should go to the hospital at this point because I'm kind of getting nervous and I feel like I have nothing here and like the nurses aren't, like they need to monitor me, and I was feeling like I needed some professional help. Oh my god.
You got this.
This one hurts. Oh.
Oh, brought tears to your eyes.
So we were packing our things. Luckily I had already gotten like the bag, the hospital bag ready and everything. So that was all set to go. And we decided to still stop by my parents on the way to the hospital. And I think it was like 2 or 3 contractions at my parents' house, and I had to breathe through it. And my parents were like, maybe just go to the hospital. So we were gonna have lunch at my parents' house, but then we decided, you know what, let's just go to the hospital. It was nice seeing you guys, but you know, like we're on our way. So we got to the hospital. Jimmy put me in a wheelchair and he wheeled me to like the children's bay parents, where people get delivered. There was like a lineup. There was like 2 other people. I think they were like waiting to get induced or something for like their checkup or whatnot. So they were in front of me and I hadn't even been admitted yet to be checked for dilation, and I was starting to freak out. I was like, oh my god, like these contractions are really getting strong, and like how much am I gonna have to wait, and like they haven't even checked me yet. Like what if I'm like, you know, like 9 centimeters dilated, what am I gonna do? So I was like going through all these thoughts in my head, and I was like, I just want to get in. The contractions were starting to get pretty strong at this point, and I was like, okay, just like hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. So they finally put me through the door, and this wasn't even like a hospital room. It was just kind of like stations where they check you for dilation and whatnot. So I was like, okay, finally, like, you know, at least we're at the first step. Like, okay, I feel a little bit better now. Like things are starting to get moving.
This is what pre-service check.
This is to see if the baby is in good standing, and then they're gonna check my cervix.
There's a little contraption there.
So the nurse came and she like put a thing in me to check my blood, and then she left, and then she came back to see how dilated I was. So she was checking, and then she was like, did an eyelash just fall? I think an eyelash just fell. Okay, I'm good. So she checked for dilation, and she looked at me, and I looked at her, and I was like, what is she gonna tell me right now? And she's like, you're 9 centimeters dilated. And I was like, what? And like this huge rush of emotion just overswept me, and I started crying. I started crying and like freaking out because number one, like we had just been admitted, like the door just opened. They're gonna have to rush me to push now. And I was like, are you serious? Like I'm not ready, I'm not prepared, I just got here, like I need some kind of buffer. Like I started freaking out that way, and also freaking out at the fact that, you know, I'm mere moments away from meeting my daughter. And it was just so overwhelming, and I started crying and I started freaking out. She had gotten a second nurse to come for a second opinion. So she checked me for dilation as well, and she was like, she's not 9 centimeters dilated. She's 3 centimeters dilated. And we all looked at the girl up like, are you serious? You just like scared this poor girl, me, half to death, saying you're 9 centimeters dilated, because 10 centimeters is like the complete, right? Like that's fully open. 9 centimeters is like you're just like a smidgen away from being fully dilated. And I was like, are you serious? So I went from like a high up at the roller coaster to like an ultimate low of being like, are you kidding me? Like I'm just at the beginning. I was just that was tough. Like I wish I didn't have to go through that. And then what's worse was when she had pricked me for my blood work, I had the most massive bruise you have ever seen. Like I have a picture here. I had a bruise there for like at least 2-3 weeks. It was like worse than the bruise down there. It was my arm, and it was because of that nurse that said I was 9 centimeters dilated when I got there. Like, thank you very much. And then for some reason, I guess it's almost like an inducement when they check you for dilation. After that second nurse left, after she checked me for dilation, I had the most strongest contractions. And there was no break. That's the worst part. They were very intense contractions with no break. Like, it was endless contractions. And time was like, I don't even know what time is. Like, I think I went through those intense contractions for like 2 hours because they didn't have a hospital bed, a hospital room for me yet. So I had to be held up in that like checking station, having these massive long contractions. And I was like yelling, like I was like, ah, and I'm probably like scaring everybody else in the room that were like trying to get induced or like had to get checkups. Like I didn't want to scare them, but I had to like breathe out the contractions. I couldn't just hold it all in. So I just had to like breathe it all out, and I was just like trying to relax myself, trying to like do all these meditative, just like clear my mind and all of that stuff. But it was so painful. So time-wise, I went to my parents' house around 1 p.m. We got to the hospital around 3 p.m. when they checked for my dilation, and then they finally got me a hospital bed around 6 p.m. So I had like intense contractions from like 2 o'clock to like 6 p.m. So they finally got me a room and they checked, and I was 6 centimeters dilated. So pat on the back to me for getting there on my own without epidural. I got from 0 centimeters dilated to 6 centimeters dilated. So 4 more centimeters to go. And that is when I decided to go on the epidural. Ideally, I didn't want to take an epidural just because I like to be all natural. I don't like to take medicine. Like honestly, even if I have a headache, I will only take an Advil pill if like it's like a migraine. I'm very like medication averse. I like to do things on my own. That's just my personal opinion. That's my personal way of being. So I didn't want to do epidural. I'm proud of myself for getting to the 6 centimeters, but at this point, I almost had to take epidural because I was like, at this point I was freaking out because I was like, I'm only 6 centimeters dilated and I feel like I have gone through so much pain and I don't know how much more I can put. So our nurse was really good. She convinced me to do the epidural, not just because, you know, it's easier to deal with in a nurse's point of view. She said that, you know, if you are at this point, this much pain and you're this tired, because I didn't have a break from a contraction. Even while she was talking, I was contracting. So I had no break, and she said if it's like this, you know, you really should take an epidural because it's just gonna get worse from here and it's gonna be a long night. And you need your energy for once you start pushing. That's like, you need everything at that moment. Also, because when you're contracting, you can't really just like stand still, right? When you're contracting, you're going like this and you're trying to, you know, distract yourself. You can't sit still. And I was not sitting still even at this point. And she said, when they give you the epidural, you have to be as still as possible because they're essentially putting a needle into your spine. And if they mess up, you could be paralyzed from the hip down, or even like your whole body could be paralyzed if you move or jerk. You have to be completely still. So if you're gonna take epidural, you really should take it now instead of later. And I was like, you know what? Okay, just hit me with all you got. Give me the epidural. Let's do this. And then she's like, okay. And she was like happy for me. She's like, good, okay. After they did the epidural, I immediately felt it. Like it was like within seconds, the contractions didn't feel as strong and my body began to relax.
You did it, Leah.
Oh man, the epidural really hits nice. Even in like, I think it was like 5-10 minutes, I couldn't feel any of the contraction. Like it was like numb. And it really surprised me because I thought epidural just kind of like lessens the pain. And I don't know if this is like a womanly secret, but I didn't feel anything. Like literally like nothing. From the hips down, I felt nothing. And it's funny because on the screen, on like all the machinery and stuff, it shows you like how strong of a contraction you're getting. And there was even one point where Jui was like, do you feel anything right now? And I was like, no, I'm good. He's like, because you're like off the charts contracting right now. Like it's literally like there's a graph that goes like this with contractions and you're like off the page. And I was like, cool.
Good job, Leah. You did it. Well, you didn't do it yet.
Well, I got to 6 centimeters all on my own.
Now she's all pumped up and
Now I'm on epidural and
Epidural.
IV and they got me all hooked up.
yeah. So that number's 12 right now. That's her base. When that goes higher, it becomes her contractions.
I just had a contraction level at 56, which is like crazy, and I barely felt it. I was like, am I getting a contraction right now? And you're like, you're at 56.
That
When
would've
like 10 or 15 was like my baseline.
That
I'm
would
at
have been bad.
56. I would have been screaming if I didn't have this epidural.
You would have bit my arm off.
The thing is, I was having very intense and very long contractions. Like, that's the problem. I never got a break.
I know.
It's okay to be very intense, but like short amount of time. Not like 24/7.
I think you were having like 5-10 minutes each.
Yeah. And I would get
5 minutes.
like I would get maybe 10-20 seconds, and then it would happen again. And then I just was thinking to myself like, man, I can't do this. Like if this
Well,
is
you
just
couldn't
3
even-
centimeter.
Couldn't even walk.
When they first checked me, they said I was 9.5 centimeters dilated, and they're like, go, get a stretcher, we gotta go. Push. And I'm like, what the? We just got here and I'm already fully dilated. And then the other lady came in and she's like, oh, you're just a 3.
See, now you've become that lady that everyone talks about at the hospital.
I know.
Oh shit. This is the lady that thought she was at 9, but really she was at 3.
It's a big difference.
Mhm.
Epidural is your friend. I think for my next birth, I might take the epidural a little sooner, maybe. I'm definitely gonna take it. But now that I know how it feels, it's kind of like the curiosity is gone. I see not much harm in taking an epidural. I definitely don't regret it, for sure. It's just that it makes the labor longer, which I don't like. It's not natural, but I can't do it without it. So yeah, 6 p.m. I was 6 centimeters dilated. They gave me the epidural. And then at 9 p.m. I was 8 centimeters dilated. So I'm still like getting dilated even with the epidural and everything going through me. I'm still pushing on ahead, dilating. It's all great. Even at 11 p.m. I was 9 centimeters dilated. And at this point I was like, oh my God, like, are they gonna come in and like, am I gonna start to push? Is she gonna be born today? Is she gonna be born tomorrow? Because at this point it was December 13th evening. And so if I delivered her before midnight, she'd be a December 13th baby. But it turns out that it was the next day, so December 14th she was born. So there's that. So 14, 12, 22, or 12, 14, 22 is her birthday. So basically all night long I would take naps, which just boggles my mind that you're having these massive contractions and here's Leah napping, like having these massive contractions. Science is just, it's an amazing thing. So every time the nurse, she would like come in, she might like change my catheter or like, you know, empty out pee, or she would, you know, check to see how dilated I was or whatnot. Like she'd come in and check. So I'd wake up for that. She'd leave, I'd go back to sleep, nap for like an hour or two. And that's how it was for basically all night. All right, just for kind of a different view, just in case you Gen Zs are getting bored there, I change up the view a little bit. Where was I? Okay, the epidural. Okay, so around 3-4 a.m. is when the nurse started weaning me off of the epidural in order to push, because it's very challenging to push when you can't feel anything down there. You don't really know if your muscles are being used or not used, like, because you can't feel anything. The problem was my contractions started to come less frequently, so that almost kind of freaked me out because I was like, where'd they go? Like, bring them back, where I need them. And that's another thing I didn't know. You need a contraction in order to push. So while you contract is when you push, and when the contraction goes away, you get a bit of a break. I did not know that. with all the prenatal courses and classes and books that I read, that I didn't know. Okay, so since the contractions started coming less often, they put me on oxytocin. And that's basically a drug, I know, but what can you do? And I really didn't want to go down this road, but once you go on the epidural route, like, it's like, bring it. Like, you're just open. Like, the IV is there, and it's like, give me all you got. So they put oxytocin in my body so that the contractions can happen more frequently again. Once that started flowing, now it's the time to push. So it was around 4 a.m. when I started to push on December 14th, 2022. And once the contractions started coming about, I would take a big breath and then I would push like this, kind of like you're going to the bathroom. It's kind of like pooping, but not really. It's like you have to push, but you have to relax the muscle at the same time. That's the best way I can describe pushing for you, is pushing a poop out, but relaxing the muscle enough so that it can come out. And that's childbirth.
Pushing, you're not breathing. So maybe what you could do to try and help is to count. So you're going to slowly count like seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that'll give her like a goal to reach, right? To get all the way to 10 and then let that old breath out right away. Right away, take the new one in. And start another 10 seconds of pushing, okay? Okay. And one more. So go up on the legs, nice and wide and up. Big breath in. Jolene, you're going to start the 1. Push down hard as you can. Strong. Slow down a little. Strong, 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 strong. Keep going, keep going, keep going.
10.
Breath out. Right away. Deep breath back in.
1, 2,
Push down hard.
3,
Strong.
4,
Keep going.
5,
Strong, 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 strong,
7,
strong, strong,
8,
strong.
9, 10.
Good. Let that out quickly before she sneaks up.
So I basically pushed for 2 to almost 2.5 hours or so. And I pushed and I pushed and I pushed. And when she checked for where the baby was literally like not even 2 inches from seeing air. Like she was right at the edge. And I kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And then that's when the doctor came in. I feel like that was like the moment, like, not really, like I'm kind of exaggerating, but I kind of failed. Like I feel like, like I couldn't do it on my own, like, because I really wanted to do it on my own and I really wanted to push, but it's okay. You know what? Everything happens for a reason, and my daughter is safe and healthy and well, and that is what I'm focusing on. So when the doctor came in, I was so scared that he was gonna say, we're gonna need a C-section. I was so scared he was gonna say that. So he came up to me and he's like, well, it looks like you're pretty tired. And it looks like he was gonna give me a solution. So I was like, no. I interrupted him. I was like, no, I'm not tired. I'm good. I can keep pushing. He's like, well, you've been pushing for like 2.5 hours. I'm like, no, I'm good. And he almost kind of laughed. Like he was like, oh, like got a trooper here. But he basically said that, you know, the baby is kind of stuck on that pelvic bone area, and we don't even know if the baby will come out on its own or what. Like, if you want to save you some energy and, you know, you don't want to risk the baby, stress on the baby, like pushing for so long. So if you want to play it safe, like we could do the vacuum method or the forceps method or the C-section. And I was like, oh my God, no, I don't want to do C-section. And he's like, okay, well, the vacuum or the forceps. And I was like, okay, let's do the vacuum then. Because forceps is actually how I was born. They basically like clamp you like this, like that, and pull you out. The vacuum method is when they like suction your head like this and then pull you out that way. So I was like, okay, let's do the vacuum method. Let's do this. Actually, because her head was kind of stuck around my pelvic bone area, afterwards we learned actually that her head was kind of big, like especially for her percentile or whatever. She was like the 98th percentile for head circumference. So that's probably why she wasn't coming out, because she had a big head. But anyways, so the doctor said, okay, so you want to do the vacuum method, great. The baby's gonna come out in about 3 contractions. And I was like, holy moly, oh my gosh, like this is really happening. She's coming out this soon. Like I've been pushing for hours, right? It's been like a 2-day ordeal. And now I'm finding out that in the next few contractions, my baby's gonna come out. And I was just so overwhelmed, and I was like, oh my God, she's coming, she's gonna be here. And I was just trying to also focus my thoughts in a positive way, because I could have gone down the route like, oh my God, I'm such a failure, and I didn't do it properly, and I didn't breathe properly, or I didn't push properly, and now I have to do the vacuum method. I could have taken that path, but you know what? I chose to do the path of, I'm gonna meet my baby really soon. I'm so happy. This is almost over. I'm well, she's well, everything is gonna go great. Let's do this. 3 contractions, I got this. And just those positive thoughts really helped me out to continue this process, to see it to conclusion. I'm gonna have a little bit of a tea break. This is so fun. We should do more of these talks. They're great. A little one-sided, but it's fun. Oh my God, I love tea. So what freaked me out a little bit was the popping sound of the vacuum. It's kind of gross when you think of it. I don't want to get into too much detail, but they were basically pulling her out with like this cord from the suction, and Jaweed, my husband, was actually saying they're pulling really hard. Like, he kind of squirmed, like, that's kind of a bit much. Like, it would even like unsuction itself, like that, and then he'd be like, oh, okay, well, I'm just gonna have to attach this again, and it would go like that. Happened, I think, at least 2 times, maybe even 3 times, where the suction got lost from him pulling. And Jaweed later said like there was so much blood and everything. But anyways, let's get to the sunshine and rainbows part, shall we? So basically I was at a point where I was at my 3rd contraction, and I knew it, okay, this is my last contraction. If I push really hard, I can do it. I'm gonna meet my baby, and all these thoughts. And I had my eyes closed the whole time. And I was just really focused. Like, I was like dead serious, eyes closed, just like super focused, just focusing on pushing and relaxing, and so that this baby can come out. And I heard Jaweed's voice egging me on and cheering me on and saying how much of a good job I'm doing. All the nurses around me, there was like 5 nurses and the doctor around me, and they were all saying such kind words and like asking me like, what's her name gonna be, and oh, so beautiful, and you're doing a great job. And like, I was just surrounded by really amazing people, and that made the world to me. It just made me relax more. It was really nice. And so on my 3rd contraction, her head came out, and the head was just like right there. And I didn't know at this point, but I just see it afterwards, because this is what Jaweed told me, that her head was out of me, and they had to wait for another contraction. So it was like, okay, breathe. We got 1 more contraction, and this is gonna be your baby. Okay, Leah. Okay, Leah. And then on, I think it was either the 3rd or it was probably the 4th contraction. And then they pulled her out, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I felt like my whole body, like, it was just like the weirdest feeling. It was almost like taking a big poop and like being relieved, but like in your front area, and like all this mass just coming out of you.
Joanne, can I get that to you? Okay, Mom. Hold your legs back. Look, you're gonna push. Hold your legs shut. Yep. Don't pull. Don't pull back. Before, okay? Okay, push into your bum. Push hard. Push hard. Go.
You got it?
Strong, Leah.
Don't stop. Keep going. Good for you. Okay, change that breath. Do that again. That was awesome. You can do this. You can do this. That's it. Keep pushing hard. As much.
Baby's moving well. You're doing great. We're ready too. We're all ready. Everybody's ready.
Does she have a name? Zara? Oh, perfect. Very nice. And Julie got push. Hard. Join me back to blanket. Let's go.
You got this, yeah.
Keep going. Come on. It's your baby.
Oh, there's that papa.
Okay, and again. Good breath in.
Strong as you can. This is it, Leah.
Good job.
So
Big
close.
push. Come on.
Push down hard. Don't stop. Keep going.
Hard.
Good.
That's it.
Good
job.
You got it now. Another deep breath in. Do it again. Head is up.
Go.
There we go.
Good job.
There's your
Have this
baby.
little stubborn girl. Ready?
There's all
I
the
know
stuff.
she's that little girl. Hi, sweet girl. Like that cute face. Just finger like this. Okay, Mama, you did it.
Good job, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Congratulations, you did really well. So, yeah, I mean, you pushed great. There were no complications.
That's good.
And seeing this beautiful baby that, you know, you've been wanting to meet for 9 months, and you just see her and you hold her, and it's just such a pivotal moment in life, and I just cannot describe to you, and I'm literally starting to tear up just remembering how that felt. And it was just it's such a moment when you first meet your child and their first cries, and when they look at you and you hold them for the first time. It's so special. I'm sorry, oh my god, just remembering these moments, it's like the best moments of life in my opinion. Like, so I held her in my arms for the first time, and we decided to do a delaying of umbilical cord cutting. So yeah, we had her in my arms for a few minutes, and we were just looking at her, and I was talking to her, and I was saying, you know, I love you so much, and I'm so glad you're here, and I've waited so long to meet you, and you know, we're gonna love you so much. And I was just like looking up at Jweed, and I was looking back down at her, and it was just such a good moment. And then the nurses gave Jweed the cord cutting, and they cut the cord, and she was, for the first time of her whole life, free from her mama, and she was out in the world on her own now. That's dramatic, but I mean, technically the umbilical cord was the last thing holding her to me, attached to me, so she was now her own person on her own, out into the air, breathing, and it was just such a special, special moment.
Mommy. Good girl. Isn't that surreal?
Your dad, though,
I know, I can't believe it. I had a long journey.
Oh, wow.
Huh?
Oh, I just want to kiss you and kiss you and kiss you and hug you and hold you. Oh, yeah. Look at those lips. Eh? Look at those lips.
Okay, so after they weighed her, they measured her, they made sure everything was good, they gave me back my little girl and put me in a wheelchair, and they were gonna send me to my room now. So because it was so booked up in the hospital, we ended up with a semi-private room at first. So that's when you share a room with somebody else. So we went there, and I took a nice little nap after the whole ordeal, and I literally fell asleep instantly, and we slept there for a bit, and then I got up to go use the bathroom, which was kind of scary because the first bathroom session after a birth can be kind of scary. So I was a bit hesitant to go, but I knew I had to go, and the nurse said, hey, if you have to go, if you feel the need, then you should go, because that means it's really great because the epidural has probably completely worn off at this point. So it's a really good thing. So I was at least thankful for that. The epidural was out of my system now, and I can go to the bathroom, and everything is going well. Well, I go to the bathroom, and honestly, it wasn't that bad. It felt kind of different and kind of stingy a little bit, but it wasn't that bad. It was bad when I got up from the toilet. When I got up, I don't know if I got up too fast or what, but I nearly fainted. All the blood rushed from my head when I got up and I started blacking out. So then I sat back down in the toilet, I still was blacking out, and I went lower and lower just to kind of like get my blood more regulated, because it's better when I lie down when that happens. Because as you know from like the previous vlogs of when I was pregnant, I went through like month 7 or 8 when I was very faint. And I did lose a lot of blood, so like, and it only hit me when I went to the bathroom. I was trying to recover, and then I was scared because I was like, you know what, I'm in this bathroom like alone, like nobody knows that I'm fainting right now. So I was literally, I crawled on the ground, I was crawling to the door to open the door, and I opened it and I was like, Jawid, like help me, like I need some assistance here. And like I'm pretty sure the other lady heard this whole ordeal, which is kind of embarrassing, but here I am telling the whole world on YouTube. So Jawid came over and immediately he called the nurses and he was like, oh, I need help over here. And the whole urgency of it made me a little bit scared, because like, why am I fainting? What's going on? And like 3 nurses like came rushing in and they had like a wheelchair and they're like, oh, we're gonna have to help her up, like help her up. And like the way that they were like speaking was like really scaring me. But for some reason, I don't know, like the faintness started to kind of ease. Maybe because I felt like safe, like now that, you know, all these people are here and they're helping me and they're gonna make sure I'm okay. I guess the faintness started going away, which I was really thankful for. They urged me into the wheelchair and I just kind of like crawled into the wheelchair because like I didn't want to like sit down. I was like, and then the faintness kind of just went away, and then they wheelchaired me back to my bed and they noticed that there was still food next to my bed, and they realized she didn't eat, like she needs to eat. Because me and Jawid both slept once we went to that room, like we just slept. And when they brought me the food, like I don't think they woke me up, or they might have, and I just went right back to sleep. So I still hadn't had eaten. So I ate everything that was on the tray, and after that I felt so much better. So any advice that I can give is when they give you the food after you birth, I know you want to sleep, but eat the food first because you don't want to faint in the bathroom. So yeah, I felt a lot better after I ate some food and gave some proper nutrition to my body. We were awake for the rest of the day and we had a whole bunch of visitors. So my parents came, Jawid's parents, and my brother and Jawid's brother, and it was so nice. And even my friend Jessica came, and it was just like there was so much love given to this little girl, and it's even more special because she's the first. Like the first, I mean like in my generation of my family, and then Jawid's family. So we spent the next few days at the hospital in a private room. Within that night, they gave us our private room, which was really great. And we spent the next few days there, so 2 nights, 3 days, and the nurse was really, really great there. The nurses were really great.
Hey, that's a girl, good girl. Listening. You're a good girl. Listen to parents, okay?
They did a whole bunch of testing, like hearing and like blood work, and they also told me that she has a bit of jaundice, and she has a slight hematoma at her head, and these are both caused from doing the vacuum way. So just FYI, if you choose to do the vacuum, most likely your baby will have a hematoma, which is basically like kind of like a blood bubble, because when you pull on the skin here, the blood kind of all goes to that spot and then it gives it a bit of a bump. So she had a little bit of a hematoma. She's 3 months old now, so the hematoma is now gone. The jaundice is long gone, but the nurses were really great in urging me to breastfeed, to get that colostrum. We had to like hand pump it out and like, what do they call it? I don't know, it's called this, when you try and get the colostrum out. This whole breastfeeding journey, I want to do a whole entire video on this because it's like pregnancy, baby, breastfeeding. It's like those are like the trifecta. Like breastfeeding is way up there in terms of what you need to learn, how the baby needs to learn, what the position is. Like there's so much you need to know about breastfeeding, and it's a teamwork effort with baby and mother come together to make it work. So it's a whole thing, but basically in the beginning, the nurse was like, oh, you have a pump? Like, oh, okay, so get your husband to go get the pump. And I was like, I thought like I might use the pump. Turns out that pump was a godsend. I'm so glad we got this pump. By the way, we got this Medela pump. Hands down, amazing. Love it. Use it every day, several times. So would highly recommend that. But anyways, we used the pump, we started getting the colostrum, we getting drops, we were feeding her. That was like an entire chapter, like trying to breastfeed her, because when your baby has jaundice, the only way that you can really get rid of it, besides the UV lamp way, and that's only if it's like really bad, but if you don't have like full-on jaundice, the best way to get rid of it as fast as you can is through breastfeeding. And the breastfeeding kind of just gets it out of their system. And I wasn't getting enough milk, you know, day 1 or 2, so we had to give her a bit of formula to kind of supplement the lack of milk in the day 1, day 2, which I didn't want to do, but I mean, if my baby can't drink anything, obviously it's like worst case scenario, you know, you have to use formula because you're not gonna not feed your baby. So we had to give her formula so that we could get rid of that jaundice too. The first night was really fine, actually. I don't know if it's maybe because she was really okay or we were really tired, but we slept like the majority of the night. I mean, sometimes she'd wake up and we'd play like the white noise on like the phone and just have it on her crib thing there, just playing to soothe her, and she basically slept through the whole night and it was great.
Alright.
He's so soft. Aren't you just the most precious little angel? You're so beautiful. It's mommy. I'm your mommy.
She's coming out, she's like, what are the interest rates? She's like, I forget I'm going back in.
Second night was a little bit harder. People say that second night is like the worst night. I mean, it wasn't that bad. I guess because, you know, we gave her formula, so maybe she was nicely satiated, because formula actually goes through the baby's digestive system a lot slower than milk, and it can make them fuller for longer. So maybe that was why she was able to sleep the majority of the night.
Hi, Zara. Are you all tucked in? Ready for bed?
But also you're kind of like high off adrenaline and you're like so happy and you're kind of like in this honeymoon period of having a baby that like I just feel like she could have a temper tantrum or, you know, reject the breast, or everything would be okay because, you know, we have her. And that's like the height of happiness. And as long as we have her and she's, you know, alive and well, like everything is well. Like that's all I need for my happiness, is that she's alive and well. Everything else doesn't matter.
Chew. Or swallow. Chew. Come on.
She's kind of cold.
Good girl. You're being a good girl, huh? She just got fed. What time it is? 1:30 in the morning. I think this is the third time waking up.
We're getting better.
Hashtag no sleep.
And so as my breast milk started coming through and I was gaining supply, we were weaning her off the formula, so that once we left the hospital, that was like the only formula that we ever used, was the hospital formula, which thank God, because we didn't know formula is expensive. Holy moly. We were gonna buy some just to like kind of have some worst case scenario if we didn't have enough breast milk, you know, could use formula. It's expensive. Like for this much of formula, it would be like $20-$30 at least, and that would do the baby for what, 2-3 days? Like formula is crazy expensive. I don't know why. And I mean, honestly, it should be like covered by the government. I mean, we have free healthcare in Canada. Just make formula free, as well as diapers for that matter. I mean, come on. We had a little bit of problems breastfeeding because of her jaundice. She would fall asleep at the boob. She would be very lazy and she would just fall asleep. And, you know, that's not good. So we would have to give her formula again. And because I guess the boob is so relaxing, it just makes them fall asleep. But I knew it was so important that she needed to be breastfed so that we could get this jaundice out of her system. So it was kind of like a catch-22 where it's like, I need to breastfeed to get the jaundice out of her system, but she's not feeding and this and that. She had the latch fine. My milk supply was fine. It's just that she would fall asleep. But we just kept persisting and persisting, and like as the jaundice slowly started going away, our breastfeeding skills started to slowly improve. So in the end, it was a success, and we passed all the tests with flying colors. My little daughter is amazing and healthy and well. Look how big she is. Her first outfit.
It's what, day 2.5?
I'm a big girl now.
Pass down. Her first outfit.
She's so cute. Oh, big girl. And we got discharged from the hospital, and we left the hospital, and here's the video of us leaving the hospital. Honestly, when we were leaving the hospital even, and I was filming this video, I started crying, like, while I was filming it, and I was like, is this real? Like, is this real? Like, we're walking out of the hospital with our daughter. Like, we came into the hospital with her inside me, and now we're leaving the hospital with her in the car seat, ready to go home with us, and we're gonna live this life. Like, it was like, it's like a new chapter, you know? Like, this is where things change. Oh my god, I am such a softie. I'm not gonna say like my whole life flashed before my eyes, but it's like, this is the moment now going forward where, you know, things are gonna be different. This is gonna be a new dynamic for Jawid and I, and this is our family, you know? Like, this is the three of us, and we're setting up on our life, and she's gonna have her nursery, and we're gonna breastfeed her, and we're gonna watch her grow, and she can be whoever she wants to be in her life, and we're gonna develop her and give her the toys and the love and the care and the food and whatever she needs. And just like, all these thoughts were hitting me, and it was kind of just like a reality check walking out of the hospital. Like, this is real. Like, this actually happened. It's not a dream. And it's such a special moment in time. And I'm just so looking forward to so many memories with her. And it's like, looking back, like, now she's 3 months, right? So just looking back these 3 months has just been, it's been so special. And I haven't revealed her name yet, so I guess I've been kind of holding out. I was gonna do a whole video on what her name is gonna be, but I guess I'll just, in a way, reward you guys for, thank you for watching up until this moment. And I will tell you her name, and maybe I'll even give you a glimpse on what Zara looks like. Alright, so our beautiful baby girl's name is Zara! Her name is Zara. And Zara, if you're watching this right now, we love you so much. And here's my baby girl, Zara! Baby!
Hi, Munchkin. She's drooling.
Oh boy. This is our beautiful baby daughter. She is 1 week away from being 3 months old, and we love her so much. You've probably seen her already in all the shorts that I've been creating, but here's her on my YouTube page. There will be lots of videos to come of us and the family and Zara, and I'm so excited to make them, but I just wanted to show you her here. Hi! Say hi, YouTube! Hi, YouTube! So thanks for watching, guys. It's been a hot minute since I've made a video, and it's really great to be back talking to you. I've really enjoyed it, and I missed you guys. So thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! Can you wave bye? This is the first bye she's done. Bye!